the MouldKing Magic Castle locomotive on the railway up here. And for those of you who are trained people, you might know that the locomotive is meant to represent the Hogwarts Express. It is also, well, I mean, the actual class of the locomotive is the Great Western Railroad. The Hull class is known in England. It is a 460 type locomotive. And something really cool about this particular engine is that the wheel size that this one came with, they're slightly larger drivers than the standard Lego wheel size. And the wheels on the tender are sort of like a mini-sized driver wheel. So you theoretically could disassemble the tender and make it into a locomotive if you had the right parts, and it would be like really small drivers. The engine's build was very similar to that of the QJ. Especially the chassis had very similar building style involving the center drive rod that goes down through the center into the center axle, and then the two shafts that go out to each of the main axles here, and the motor that sits right here. Unlike the QJ, this only has a single motor inside of it, and it has a battery pack. The engine also has a smoke unit. I have a video of the engine running the smoke. Be careful if you put too much fluid inside of it, you will screw it up. I did that. I was curious to see how much it would take, because it actually uses water, and the tank runs out really fast. So I figured it came with an eyedropper. I put 2 full eyedroppers in, and it flooded the thing, and now I no longer have steam. That was my fault. Just when you do that, just be careful. It'll take about 1.5 droppers worth of stuff without dying. There's that. This passenger car here is a mock. It is not part of the set. Here we have the actual British style passenger car. The doors are actually pretty awesome, and how they open up. They pull out straight and then they slide over, which is quite cool. That's neat. You can just slide right like that. Same with this one right here. Slides like that. Oh. And the door opens. And it closes back up. Same with the door on the other end as well. The bogies are nice and detailed. They look pretty accurate relative to the other types of, relative to British passenger cars, you know. The detailing on the tender is quite nice. It's overall pretty cool. The headlights on the front both work, as you can see. And on top of the steam unit, there is a LED lights up showing it's turned on. In this case, mine is broken because I friggin' screwed up. It's my own fault. The cab is actually nice and detailed. It has, you know, open up the firebox, shovel. However, MouldKing, one of their downsides is that they're really bad at cable management. So as you can see, some of the power cables are sticking out the back there. Let's see if I can open this. Oh, it's the wrong side. See a fire in there, and the shovel, so that's cool. Close that back up. The engine does have sound too. It's kind of janky. It's kind of mediocre. There's a little rechargeable sound box in there. Turn it on. Basic whistle and chugging noise. However, when the train's running, the chugging is really kind of covered up by the locomotive. May as well run it. This is the remote that it came with. It is an improvement from the previous MouldKing remote, as this one actually has controllable speed, so you can push it slowly. It starts off at a slower speed, and you can slowly build it up to top speed. And what's nice, you can also slow it down, just have it crawl around the loop. On the back of the passenger car has the yellow stripe signifying it's the end of the train. I wish they'd released more of the coaches separately you could buy, because I would totally buy a bunch of those and just make a nice long 8-foot wide passenger train. But yeah, overall the engine's pretty nice. It's obvious what it is. What's really funny is on the box it actually says Hogwarts Castle on the locomotive, but the stickers are all Magic Castle. It's obvious what it is. I really dig the front locomotive. The way they replicated the European style hook couplers with the chains looks quite nice, and the buffers look quite nice. The engine is 8 scale, which is pretty awesome. I will actually put it up side by side next to the QJs and the Lego Emerald Knight and the Crocodile, so you can see how it compares size-wise to all those. So yeah, that's good. The middle wheel of the tender is a blind wheel, so it'll be able to navigate curves tighter. This one, obviously the middle driver is also blind as well. And then the front bogie is just a standard bogie. This locomotive, similar to the MouldKing, or to the QJ, hang on, I have to unhook the tender. Similar to the QJ, it has the rubber piece that holds on the front bogie. But on this one, because it has 4 wheels, it's not nearly as much of a problem, and they improved that part of the design. It's not nearly as wobbly or as dangly. It's a little stronger than it was, and it also doesn't cause massive nasty derailments like the other one, which is kind of good. Oh, actually, it's very good. It runs. It can handle my layout, which has a switch track and a siding, without any problems. One problem I do have though is that whenever it goes over the switch track, it hits the wall. But that's one of the limitations of my layout. I will set up a loop of track on the ground where I can show you it going around switch tracks and things and tight turns, so we can see how it handles that. I will say though, it runs very nice on R56. Doesn't slow down at all in turns, navigates quite well. Once again though, you might want to lubricate the connecting rods and the area with the pistons. That is a more important thing to do. There is some friction there, but I mean that's how most model steam locomotives are. Alright, so we have a size comparison here to show the locomotive matched up against the other engines. So we got the Hogwarts right there, the Magic Castle. It's roughly the same size as the Emerald Knight. The Emerald Knight is slightly shorter because the tender is slightly smaller. Locomotives wise, I mean they're more or less the same. But obviously the big noticeable difference is that the Hogwarts is an 8-stud scale. It has much more detail than the Knight does. The tender of the Emerald Knight's also kind of really dinky compared to the nice detailed tender of the Magic Castle. And then the engine's about approximately the same size as the Crocodile. Crocodile is slightly longer. Of course, the QJ dwarfs all those. Yep. I would like to point out, actually, you know, I'll disconnect the tender from the Emerald Knight so I can show you the difference in the size of the driver wheels. And we get those nice little small ones there, and even just looking at them, these ones are just a tiny bit bigger. So that's neat. Of course, it's just the QJ dwarfs the size of all of them. Yep. This here is the on switch for the locomotive. So the lights will come on. Hold it down. Oh, hold it down. It'll turn off. Heck, relative to the QJ, I mean, the QJ just dwarfs the Magic Castle. But I mean, for a six locomotive with 6 drivers, you know, 460, relative size to what would be literally a massive 10-driver wheel locomotive, the 210-2. I mean, it makes sense. You know, so it's like putting a K4 Pacific next to a massive Berkshire, or even the 844 or something, or like the 611J. You know, they just dwarf the littler engines. Yep. Oh, and there's the other one. I don't know if you care to see it or not, but the one thing I don't like is that because of the wire management, the way they had the wire set up, you can kind of see them on the outside of the locomotive. Kind of a pain. There really was nowhere to route it inside, and even the wiring diagram put it next to the. So that was annoying, but I guess it is what it is. Model isn't perfect, but it's better than Lego's attempt. Lego's attempt is 6 stud wide. Doesn't even come with a motor. Doesn't even come with magnet. Doesn't even come with the standard magnetic couplers. So that was a disappointment for that one. But it is a nice locomotive here. We can get a better look at the sound box. Let's pull it out. It's just a brick. You know, turn it around with switch right there. It charges up. Set it down like that. This just pops right back on, so that's nice. Yep. And then to access the charging port, you have to tip it upside down and pull out the power switch, and you can then remove one of the blocks here. Handle that. Yep. Here, we'll turn it upside down and look at the drivetrain. There we go. See, it's very similar to the QJ. Let me grab the other QJ real quick, and I'll flip that upside down so you can do a little comparison. Here is the other one. Hang on a second. Just set it down so I don't break that or anything. That would be pitiful. Here. You can see it's more or less just a smaller version of the QJ. The QJ has a lot of the longer rods, obviously, aside from the actual valve gears, because the valve gears on the Great Western Railroad's hull class are just different. You know, they're not, doesn't use the Welshers type gear. But you can definitely see the similarities. You have the center coming back. My phone ran out of storage, so I had to delete some stuff. But it definitely very similar drivetrains. And perhaps you can see the difference now. Side by side, the wheels of the locomotive are slightly bigger, standard Lego size. Yep. Up, and then you can see it better. There's the control switch. Oh, pecker. And I lost some bricks, I think. Yeah, off the top. But to get the charger, you just pull this out, and you can see it right there. And I will say they did a good job improving their control interface. And I ran it with the app too, and the app does also have the speed control function, so it isn't just the remote. So that is quite nice that they listened to the reviews, you know, from people gave them, or else they just, you know, improved their designs. So that's cool. It is a nice little engine. A better review of the front. The replica latch style coupler. That's cool. Yep, overall a decent model. Yeah. Get a better look at the tender. Let's see. Bottom of it. Those are the wheels. They're nice little wheels. Pretty cool. Nice ladder on the back. Give her a high ball. So here, the locomotive doing a curve test. So far, it's navigating the tight turns, more or less. We slow it down a bit, though. So we see it really has trouble. It really slows down the curves when you slow it down to a more medium speed. Let's switch the track now. There we go. We'll get it going nice and slow. It definitely has wheels up on the curves. So if it was pulling a longer train on our R40 track, it would certainly have more issues. Navigates the switches well enough. Once again, max speed. Handles the switch is fine. We'll flip this back. but I think it'll probably derail going backwards. Unless you're going really slow. Yep, exactly as I foreseen. It'll run fine forwards and stuff. If you're pushing cars in reverse, it won't do so well. If you're going slow, not pushing cars in reverse, you should be okay. We'll try that real quick. There's the engine going backwards around corners. It's going okay. We'll flip this one now. There we go. Full speed to see what it does. Yep, at full speed it'll derail. Slower speeds is okay. In reverse. Forward though, you should have no problems running on R40. But if you want best performance pulling actual trains, get R56 curves. Alright, so we've got the locomotive hooked up. I'm using the Power Up app right now, not the remote because I don't feel like using the remote right now. But we will start off at a nice slow speed. We'll just crawl around the track. And I have to be careful that I don't let my finger go. Slow it down, turn it into auto mode using the programmability of the MouldKing app. It's just cruising nice and slowly. I have the app programmed currently to have the motor run off the light control, so you can kind of control it. Here, I'll put it up to full speed. Now we're doing a pulling test. I have it connected to, not the longest freight train that I can do, but a fairly long freight train considering the size of the locomotive. We're going to turn on the sound. And now it should be all ready to go. Alright, headlights on. Locomotive pairing. All right, nope. And it took off. Awesome. Here, we'll slow it down and just couple up. And of course, the tank car wasn't connected right. That is my fault, partially. There we go. Now we'll get it going. Seems to be handling the freight train quite nicely.